Have you ever heard the term US FDA Form 483 and wondered why it creates panic across clinical trial sites, CROs, and sponsors? In clinical research, Form 483 is not just a document, it's a warning sign of compliance gap that can directly impact patient safety, data integrity, and trial credibility. In this video, we'll break down what Form 483 really means in clinical trial, why is it issued, what are the common inspection findings, and how sites and sponsors should correctly respond to it. If you're a CRC, CRA, or QA professional or clinical research aspirant, this is a must-watch video. So make sure you watch this video till the end and subscribe to our channel. And without further ado, let's get started. So now let us understand what exactly is US FDA Form 483. So this particular US FDA Form 483 is nothing but an official inspection observation report that is issued by the US FDA to a company or clinical trial site at the conclusion of an FDA inspection. Okay, so it is not about the audit, it is about the inspection now. Okay, if you are someone who does not know about the difference between audit and inspection, I've created a separate video, so you can definitely check that particular video out. I will put the link in the description. But basically understand that whenever it is an audit, basically it is done by the sponsor themselves or an internal activity, and that is for compliance to the processes. But when it comes to inspection, that is done by the regulatory authorities, and in this case the US FDA. So if you have your drug which is under clinical trial and the clinical trials are being conducted in various countries, okay, for example, let us consider India. Okay, so a particular drug is being tested globally. Okay, it is a global clinical trial, and whatever data you have submitted to the regulatory authority, now the US FDA wants to analyze, wants to inspect that particular clinical trial site, whether all the US FDA regulations were followed or not whenever you have conducted the clinical trial. Okay, so whenever US FDA wants to inspect a particular site, they will come for inspection, and at the end of this inspection, they if they find that there are major gaps or major issues at that particular clinical trial site or a particular company, then they issue this particular US FDA Form 483. Okay, and that is a very big step. Okay, if you have worked in clinical research, or if you even if you're a newbie, then definitely ask the experienced people what exactly 483 means. Okay, it definitely is a panic situation, because at the end of the day, whatever clinical trial we conduct, we ensure the trial data is solid, the trial is conducted appropriately as per the regulatory requirement, because that data is going to be submitted to the regulatory authority for marketing approval. Okay, and no company wants any issues with that particular data, and getting 483 is a big thing. Okay, so whenever anyone talks about 483, now you know what exactly 483 means. Okay, it is essentially a report, an official inspection observational report at the conclusion of the FDA inspection. Now, this particular report lists down the conditions and practices that the FDA investigator believes may violate the FDA regulation. Okay, so that particular 483 report will conduct what are the issues, what were the practices that the inspector found which are in violation to the FDA regulation. Okay, now each and every inspector will definitely follow the laws and guidelines of their own country. So whenever it comes to 483, they will follow the US laws. Okay, and the regulations can be the CGMP, GCP, and GLP. Okay, so if there is an inspection at a laboratory, they will focus on GLP, but whenever it comes to clinical research, we are talking about clinical trial, then definitely GCP violations, process violations. Okay, are you from pharma, biotech, or life sciences and still struggling to enter clinical research industry? You are not alone. Thousands of graduates miss high-paying roles not because they lack talent, but because they lack the right skill set. Imagine fast-tracking your career into one of the highest growth, highest demand global industry with the certification that are trusted by thousands of learners across the world. First, we have advanced certification in clinical research, CDM, and PV, your all-in-one gateway to the top three domains of the industry, followed by advanced certification in clinical data management where you master CRFs, DMPs and clinical data basics and become job ready for CDM role. Next, we have advanced certification in pharmacovigilance and drug safety, where you break into PV, understand real world case processing and safety reporting skills. Next, we have advanced clinical research associate training program, where you become site ready and industry ready and become the CRAs that the companies want. Followed by cancer clinical research and oncology trials, where you enter into the most advanced and impactful field of oncology research. And last but not the least, clinical research career guide, where you crack the interviews, build your perfect CV, and land your first dream job. The future belongs to the skilled professionals, and if you're ready to transform your career, this is your moment. Click on the links given in the description and explore the amazing programs and start your journey into clinical research today. So, basically, this particular 483 will focus on those particular violations or gaps. Again, whenever this form 483 is issued to a clinical trial site, now I'm specifically talking about clinical research. Okay, so it will highlight that the inspection was conducted and there were potential compliance issues. Okay, and understanding the role of this particular inspector. Okay, and what his expectation were. So form 483 will clearly tell you what were the issues. Okay, and that will help you in maintaining the regulatory standard or understanding what were the compliance required and how you should have done. Okay, so basically whenever it comes to clinical trial, whatever potential issues are there, that will be listed in this particular form 483 report. Okay, and that will clearly highlight what were the challenge in terms of regulatory issues and what regulatory standards were breached, violated, or were there any gap. Okay, so that is about US FDA 483. Now you might be wondering what are the situations of circumstances that warrant the inspector to issue this particular form 483. Okay, so during an FDA inspection, if the investigator observes three major areas that in the clinical trial or in the conduct of the clinical trial there were issues, they will definitely issue you 483. The first area in this particular thing is the non-compliance with the regulation. So definitely if the trial is a global trial and that data is going to be submitted to the US FDA, so if there are any non-compliance regarding the regulations, okay, because whenever you apply for a clinical trial to be conducted with the respective regulatory authority, in this case US FDA, they will give you certain set of guidelines that you need to follow whenever you conduct a clinical trial. And if you show non-compliance regarding this particular regulation, then definitely it warrants for a 483 inspection observation. Again, the second deficiency would be any deficiency in system, processes, or documentation. Okay, so your inspector would also be focusing on what are the system requirements, how the system works, what are the processes followed during the conduct of the clinical trial, and how documentation is maintained during the conduct of clinical trial. Okay, so not only regarding regulatory compliance, the inspector will also focus on your system, your processes, and your documentation. If there is any issue which violates the regulatory requirements issued by the US FDA, then definitely they will issue you a form 483. Again, the inspector will also review on a major area called as risk. If there is any risk to product quality, data integrity, or subject safety in the clinical trial, then also form 483 inspection observation are issued. Okay, so definitely whenever you conduct a clinical trial, you have to ensure that whatever the data is recorded, that data is solid, it maintains the alcoa principle, alcoa plus plus principle. Again, the subject safety is being protected, the adverse event, serious adverse event are properly reported during the conduct of the clinical trial. If it is a manufacturing facility or pharmaceutical company, then definitely product quality is maintained. Okay, and if there is any violation in above three categories that we have discussed, category 1, 2, and 3, then definitely investigators document all the observation in the form 483. Okay, so always remember, if you found any kind of discrepancy in this three area, then the investigators or the inspector document all the observation in form 483. Okay, so if you get any form 483 after your inspection, then definitely there is an issue with your site or your manufacturing facility. Now, a lot of people ask me that whenever they get 483, which are the five major area that has uh, potential to get you 483? Okay, so first we have discussed is the non-compliance. So if there were any issues with the participant eligibility, or incorrect procedures were conducted, or incorrect IP dosing were done, so that comes under protocol non-compliance. Okay, you did not follow the clinical trial protocol. Second thing is the subject protection and consent. So if there is any adequacy in informed consent process, or outdated consent was administered, or no consent was taken at all during the procedure or after the procedure. Okay, so these are the major area whenever it comes to subject protection or inadequate consent. The next area is the safety reporting. Definitely, as we have discussed, if there is any underreported SAE, any delayed reporting of AE SAE reports, or any missing document regarding your safety, then definitely that also warrants you to get common observation regarding 483, followed by the record keeping. Okay, so whenever you conduct a clinical trial, record keeping and data integrity are one of the crucial elements, and that even in an audit you find that there are a lot of observation. So if there is any incomplete source document, inaccurate case report form, or any missing data during the clinical trial, then definitely that warrants for a 483 finding. And last but not the least, the IP. Okay, so whenever you conduct a clinical trial and you have poor accountability or incorrect IP accountability log, improper storage area, or any dispensing error, then that also definitely warrants for an FDA 483 finding. Okay, so these were the major area where you get the 483 finding. So make sure you pause this particular video, read deeply, and understand that which are the areas you need to focus whenever there is inspection at your site. Now, let us assume that the inspection was conducted at your site and the inspector has issued 483. Now let us understand what are the implication of this particular 483, because I've told you what is 483, when it is issued, what are the major areas where it is issued, but it is very important for you to understand the implication, because until and unless you understand that, you will not appreciate, or you will not understand why people panic so much whenever 483 is issued to them. Okay, so the first and foremost is the risk of regulatory escalation. Okay, so definitely any inadequate or any slow response to 483. Okay, you have got 483 and you are not properly responding or taking a lot of time, then that can lead to more serious FDA warning letter, and that can potentially have you OAI, which is official action indication regarding inspection classification, which means that even after conducting inspection, you are not properly implementing the kappa, you are not explaining what were the reason behind the issues. So that definitely will go towards the regulatory escalation, that can even lead to banning of your trial or stopping any particular marketing approval. Okay, so that is a major escalation whenever it comes to risk to regulatory escalation. Next thing would be threat to data integrity. Okay, so if there are any findings, especially those related to the record keeping or protocol adherence of the clinical trial, and that has potential to compromise the reliability of the study data. Okay, that can potentially lead to the FDA rejecting that particular data for product approval. Okay, because at the end of the day, each and every company is working on clinical trial to get the efficacy data, to get the safety data, and that can be submitted to the regulatory authority to get the marketing approval. If that data at its core has issues, if they have any reliability issues, if they have any issues that messes with data integrity, then that definitely has very serious ramification whenever it comes to your marketing approval, followed by consequences to the investigator. Okay, so not only the clinical trial site or the sponsor, but the investigator also faces potential reputational damage, difficulty in securing future trials, and even in severe cases there are risk of disqualification from conducting any FDA regulated research. Okay, so even if you are a investigator at a particular site, and if you do not comply by the regulatory requirement, then definitely you can get banned from conducting clinical trial. Okay, and not only FDA sponsored clinical trial, but if you are blacklisted by the sponsors post and 483, then definitely you will face very serious ramifications regarding your future in clinical research. Again, your reputation will be damaged, and it will be very very difficult for you to secure any future clinical trial, and definitely never the global trials. Last but not the least, there are also financial and operational burden. Okay, definitely, whenever there is an inspection and if they report any 483, then you need to develop kappa, and developing kappa is pain in the neck. Okay, whatever the corrective and preventive actions are there, that has to be meticulously discussed, meticulously managed and curated and tailored. Okay, so at the end of the 483 response, you need to develop and implement a thorough corrective action and preventive action plan, and it requires significant resource diversion. Okay, because from your normal clinical trial operations, you are diverting major area of expertise and resources uh, in developing this particular kappa. This directly incurs high compliance cost and potential delay in product approval, because until and unless you implement those particular kappa, you are not going to get the FDA go ahead. Okay, so definitely whenever it comes to implication of 483, there are serious ramification and that can potentially threat your marketing approval. Okay, so this was a major implication understanding of 483. So thank you for watching this video till the end, and happy new year 2026. And please make sure that you subscribe to our channel and keep supporting us through this particular year. We target that we reach 20,000 subscriber by the end of this year, so please make sure that you push the subscribe button and help us grow, and let's grow your clinical research knowledge along with this channel. Thank you.